She asks him to swear he's telling the truth, and he confirms it with the same conviction I have when the IRS asks if I filed my taxes correctly.
I swear.
Hey guys, Adam here. If you're like me, you've seen the early reviews for Last of Us Season 2 calling it groundbreaking and masterful and heart-wrenching, or 7 out of 10 if you got lost and ended up on IGN.com. But if you're also like me, you don't remember shit about Season 1, so let's fix that. It's January 2023 and Sunday the 15th came. It was a cool 65 degrees, Tom Brady was about to be eliminated from the playoffs, and our future overlords at Rotten Tomatoes had hit the show with a 94% rating. And the internet was pumped for this. An adaptation of a famously great video game headed by one of the game's creators and the guy who made Chernobyl? Throw in Pedro Pascal and that girl from the Game of Thrones fanfiction seasons? Yes, please. So 8 o'clock came, and across the nation we fired up our HBO accounts. Or 9 o'clock if you used another service. And the one question on everyone's mind was, will this somehow top the genius that is the Halo TV series? Let's find out. We open on the set of Late Night with the Devil, with John Hannah doing a TED Talk on how we'd all be boned if a fungus adapted to attack humans, and Lurch is just vibing in the corner. If you've been on Instagram after midnight, you've gone down the rabbit hole of fungus that infects spiders and mice and keeps them alive to control them. This imagines if that fungus said, answer great, but what about humans? Which at this rate will probably happen in the next 5 years. Cut to 2003. This is Joel. It's his birthday, but he's working late. Tommy's his brother, Sarah's his daughter, but don't bother memorizing her name. We're checking off all the preliminary shit hits the fan hints, background news shows, police cars, military planes. To the show's credit, it's all done very well. If you're going to do the same thing everyone else does, you might as well put the effort in. And we can't have our protagonist wake up in the hospital anymore because that's been done too many times. Sarah decides to fix Joel's broken watch as a birthday gift. She visits Lone Star Watch and Jewelry, and this absolute legend somehow manages to fix a spring in about 15 seconds. From here, we're basically watching the tutorial level of the game, that one everyone either played or watched someone on Twitch scream their way through back when webcams had 720 quality. For the record, I've never sat down and played The Last of Us. I'm an Xbox peasant, so I admire it from afar with God of War and... Jesus Christ, you guys have so many good games over there. Anyway, things start going tits up and we have to bail. This nod to the game is fantastic, more or less creating it beat for beat and, should we say, shot for shot. Anyway, Sarah dies and we flash forward 20 years. We do a good job here creating a dark, oppressive future, portraying human life in quarantine cities and how survivors are forced to live their lives under an oppressive new government just in order to keep the human race going. Get a good look because you won't see much of it again. Fun fact, but if this virus started in 2003, it means the Boston Red Sox never actually won their World Series and the curse of the Bambino lives on. Joel is now working as a smuggler with Tess. They're trying to get a vehicle and a battery together while dodging the local government and rebels known as Fireflies, who like stirring shit up and obscure messaging. If you're wondering where Tommy is, so is Joel. He disappeared on a supply run and has been missing for 3 weeks, so Joel makes it his mission to head out to Wyoming to find him. Meanwhile, we meet Ellie, who's been locked away by Marlene, who also leads the Fireflies. They're also planning to head west and transport Ellie with them. The twist here is that Ellie is immune to the virus for some reason. Joel and Tess enter the building after a shootout. After yeeting Ellie right into a fucking wall, they get the mission from Marlene that they need to get Ellie to the old state house outside of town. In exchange, they'll get everything they need to go find Tommy. They run into an issue just outside, and Joel is forced to relive his final moments with Sarah. In case you didn't get it, they'll show it to you again just to make it clear. This time he steps up. The bigger issue is they learn Ellie is infected, but there's no time to dwell on it right now. The next day, Ellie fills in Joel and Tess on how she's immune, and that will actually be sticking to the miracle cure plot as the basis for our upcoming story. Joel's skeptical, but Tess pushes him on. We get this interesting tidbit on the infection.
You step on a patch of cordyceps in one place, and you can wake a dozen infected from somewhere else.
Which is a bit more interesting in concept than the rest of what we see out here. If you had to be critical about something in this show, it's that everything we see out in the wild has basically been here, done that. Again, it's done very well, so it's hard to hold it over its head. I honestly preferred most of the opening scenes more than the actual episodes. Like this opening scene in episode 2 where the scientist is asked how do they stop the spread, and she simply says bomb. It gave me chills. Fungus transferring to humans is a terrifying thought, and I'm more interested in that part. Anyway, we cut through the museum where we're ambushed by a special type of infected called clickers. The fungus has overtaken their eyes, so they hunt by sound and make noises that keep making me think of Mars attacks. They make it to the courthouse, but the Firefly convoy is a little too dead to take Ellie. And on top of it, Tess reveals she was bitten. She makes Joel promise to get Ellie to Bill and Frank's as the horde comes, and sacrifices herself to give them some time.
April! cucumbers.
Friends that played the games have told me that the relationship between Joel and Ellie is the focal point on why this series is so beloved. But I just don't get that feeling while watching this. If you remove yourself from the hours of gameplay where you directly control Joel, do you still get that feeling? Ellie's kind of annoying so far. If that's what the showrunners were going for, then great, but I'm not really sure that was the goal. Sarah is actually pretty cool, and I get the replacement vibe they're going for, but I'm not seeing it yet. And how this supposed bad guy doesn't just tell this girl to shut the hell up is beyond me. We're apparently 10 miles west of Boston, and everyone's already made this joke, so there's really no point. It's kind of like how this is 10 miles east of Dallas, and this is 10 miles south of Florida. Joel's dad instincts seem to be kicking in a bit, and Mortal Kombat 2 is on full display, and is a great reminder to Addie that she needs to hurry up with that second video she promised. If you're wondering who the hell Bill and Frank are, the show is about to show you in depth. We take a break from the mushroom zombies to spend an hour reliving the past 20 years from their perspective. We open on Bill. He's a libertarian doomsday prepper with a bunker and an arsenal. While everyone else is getting fungus to death, Bill turns his neighborhood into a razor-wire death maze sponsored by Home Depot. Enter Frank, who falls in one of Bill's traps, which later transitions to piano playing, flirting, and a tonal shift from The Road to Call Me By Your Name. Fast forward and they grow strawberries, argue about furniture, and host dinner parties for Joel and Tess. The episode occasionally remembers there's a zombie apocalypse outside, but mostly it's just two men building IKEA furniture while society rots. Which, goals? Then the feels hit. Frank's dying, but he wants one last perfect day. Bill agrees, and in a final act of romantic Shakespearean nihilism, they both shuffle off via double suicide. Joel and Ellie show up just in time to scavenge a truck and some life lessons. Bill's left a note basically saying, "Hey Joel, love someone before the world eats you." Ellie finds a gun, Joel finds some purpose. Anyway, no clickers this time, just heartbreak and Linda Ronstadt. As someone who hadn't played the game, I thought maybe these focal episodes were the entire point. Maybe instead of Joel and Ellie being the focus, the show is actually putting them in the background, and instead we're going to get these flashbacks of people as they pass through old towns and abandoned areas, showcasing these ghosts and highlighting these people who are essentially the Last of Us. Yeah, no, it's a one-off and it doesn't ever happen again. And the more the show goes on, the more you're going to feel like it's a bit out of place, and is essentially just there to show how Joel knows a gate code. I kind of feel like it would have been more fun if Bill was still alive. Maybe the town had been partially overrun by infected and Bill still guides them through safely. I'm not saying we have to turn it into We Don't Go to Ravenholm with Ron Swanson, but just try and lie to yourself that you wouldn't want to see that. Overall, it's the most emotionally rich episode so far, so it's kind of troubling that it comes in the episode that barely features our two leads. So Joel and Ellie are back on the road, now armed with a truck and supplies. Ellie admires her new gun, practicing her best taxi driver in the gas station restroom. Joel misses this along with the serial killer origin story she had in the basement last episode. Also, Ellie has a list of puns in a joke book. Sorry, this chick from the past 3 episodes is into puns? Are you kidding? Have you ever met anyone into puns? They'll laugh at literally everything. I will admit Ellie is getting better and more endearing. I'm finally getting the vibe between them a little more. They camp in the woods, where Joel tells Ellie that it's people, not infected, they need to worry about. As they enter Kansas City, Joel's trust no one policy is vindicated. A plea for help leads to an attack, forcing Joel to channel his inner action hero. And Ellie manages to score a spine-crippling shot on her first try.
We can be friends, I didn't know. I'm Brian.
Sorry, Brian, putting you out of misery for your legs and your haircut. Enter Kathleen, played by Melanie Lynskey, a soft-spoken yet ruthless leader of a local revolutionary group. She's on a vengeful quest for a man named Henry, who she blames for her brother's death. Her calm demeanor contrasts with her brutal actions, including executing the doctor who once delivered her. Now, I want to emphasize that I like Melanie Lynskey. She's fantastic in most of her work, but I'm not sure what the casting directors were going for here. Because she really just comes off like a passive-aggressive elementary school librarian, annoyed that the kids keep returning books late and eating all the glue sticks. I appreciate they try to do something different and not just do the generic badass Michelle Rodriguez type woman, but nothing about her character strikes me as someone all these people would be taking orders from. I mean, you need someone who can pull off fierce without having their voice crack.
And he won't stop until we stop him. Find who did this. Find every collaborator and kill them all.
Imagine what someone like Frances McDormand could have done with this role. Joel and Ellie take refuge in a high-rise. The episode ends with them waking up to find Henry and his younger brother Sam holding them at gunpoint. Henry, by the way, is public enemy number 1 for the Kansas City LARPing Guild. Kathleen is still cosplaying as a kindergarten teacher with a Glock, and laser focused on finding him because he gave up her brother to Fedra in exchange for medicine to save Sam. Which might be sad if she wasn't executing obstetricians out of grief. Since we all have the same escape goal, Joel and Ellie team up with Henry and Sam, who's deaf, adorable, and therefore statistically boned. The group sneaks through some underground tunnels but get pinned down by a geriatric sniper on the other side. Joel does his usual murder thing but then hears on the radio that Kathleen and her angry mob are coming. Right when Kathleen has Henry cornered and is giving another revenge is justice speech, the ground explodes and all hell breaks loose. A horde of infected bursts out, including a bloater. It's kinda goofy, but apparently it's from the game, so it's fine. Everyone gets ripped apart, but they had all become what they tried to overthrow, so I don't really feel bad. Plus, let's be honest, before the outbreak, they were probably all Chiefs fans. Also, there's a child clicker, which is borderline nightmare fuel. I don't know who said let's give it the ability to do gymnastics, but they deserve prison time. Kathleen gets poetic justice, by which I mean she gets tackled and ripped apart by a child monster while trying to kill a deaf kid. Sorry, Kathleen, but in the real world, this would have been you on day 1 of the outbreak. Our squad makes it out and lays low for the night. And just when you think we might have one episode where a kid doesn't die horribly, Sam shows Ellie a bite mark. Ellie tries to heal him with her immune blood, and prays where it's earned. I actually love this scene. It has the same sweet but flawed thought process we all had as kids. Tragically misguided. A+. Sam turns the next morning. Henry has to put him down, then turns the gun on himself. Joel and Ellie bury them and move on. And Ellie writes out "I'm sorry" on Sam's little magic drawing pad. Anyway, we're back to trying to find Tommy. Remember Tommy? He was this guy. We built a fire despite Joel saying 2 episodes ago that it wasn't safe.
So can we start a fire? I'm freezing.
Now why am I going to tell you no?
And we're ambushed by survivors on horseback. They have a dog that can sniff out infection, but apparently Ellie is okay. Turns out the equestrian enthusiasts are from Jackson, a thriving survivor community that looks suspiciously like a functioning society. Also, Tommy is here and married. I love the hints of humanity left in the world. Not everyone is evil or authoritarian just yet. Joel and Tommy's reunion is heartfelt but strained. Joel, ever the emotionally constipated protagonist, struggles with Tommy's newfound domestic bliss and impending fatherhood. They talk about the horrible things they did to stay alive, and Joel attempts to offload Ellie onto Tommy, who eventually agrees, leading to a confrontation between Joel and Ellie that rips open old wounds and solidifies their codependent relationship. Deciding to stick together, Joel and Ellie set off towards the Firefly stronghold at the University of Eastern Colorado. Instead, they find it largely deserted, sans a group of raiders. Joel takes one out but ends up getting shanked with a baseball bat, and we end with Joel bleeding out on the railroad tracks. Ellie tends to a half-dead Joel in a basement, and Joel, ever the optimist, tells her to leave him to die. This pulls us into a flashback. Addie actually wrote this episode's recap, which I'm now going to read verbatim, so I apologize if she got any details wrong. Adam is a douchebag. While Joel's still out of commission, Ellie ventures out to hunt for food. She manages to wound a deer, but before she can claim it, she encounters David and his pal James, played by Troy Baker in a fun cameo. David, the self-appointed preacher of a starving group of survivors, offers a trade, the deer for some penicillin. While they wait for James to return with the medicine, they hole up in a nearby cabin, and David reveals that the man Joel killed last episode was part of his group. Ellie rushes back to inject Joel with the penicillin, administering it with the same medical expertise of a YouTube DIY channel. Meanwhile, David's congregation, isn't thrilled about their leader's new teenage friend and sets out to find her. Ellie attempts to lead them away from Joel but gets captured and brought back to the compound where, yeah, we know they're eating people, it's not very subtle. I don't know if this episode intentionally plays its hand too early or is just accidentally flashing some of its cards thinking we can't see them. Regardless, I wish this cannibal reveal was done better. People are naturally going to be looking for signs of cannibalism in a show like this, especially when we're alluding to being hungry, not having sources of food, and feeling incredibly guilty. And we get all of this in the very first scene. And then we have all these shots of what's clearly not meatloaf. David suggests Ellie join his merry band of cannibals and hints at some other unsettling intentions. Ellie emerges victorious but traumatized. She stumbles outside where Joel somehow finds her. In a rare display of affection, he calls her baby girl, solidifying their dysfunctional father-daughter dynamic. To tie it all together, we open on Anna, played by Ashley Johnson to neatly tie off the voice acting checklist. She's giving birth to Ellie, get it? And an infected is attacking her. She kills it, but not before getting bit. She entrusts Marlene to take care of Ellie. Oh yeah, remember Marlene? She was this character. Back to present day, Joel and Ellie are wandering through Salt Lake City, and things are kinda off. Ellie's quiet, possibly stuck in the mental loop where she's reliving her cannibal trauma. Joel, meanwhile, is trying out the whole emotionally available dad thing. Also, giraffes. So the Fireflies ambush them. Joel wakes up in a hospital bed where Marlene drops some fun news. Hey, so Ellie has a magic brain fungus. To make a cure, we have to scoop it out and she'll die. Are you cool with that? Joel is in fact not cool with that. And if this show has taught us anything, it's that when Joel is not cool with something, people fucking die. So we get a John Wick murder fest with less cool lighting. He finds the operating room and the surgeon makes the tactical error of existing, so Joel shoots him. Marlene confronts him in the parking garage. She tries to reason with him and gives him a think about the greater good speech. Joel responds with a bullet to the gut and a follow-up to the head, because when Joel commits to a lie, he commits, damn it. I feel like this sequence could have been way more emotional. Maybe we stay in the hospital more and treat it like an actual location. We could have had initial clues that everything is fine and Ellie won't be harmed. Then it's more of a surprise when Joel finds out it's actually a ruse and Ellie won't survive. Marlene just blabs it in the first 20 seconds, and then Joel murders a bunch of dudes that can't shoot, and that's kinda it. I guess I like the villain turn for Joel, but everything just kinda feels abrupt and flat, and the whole thing feels like a midway point of a season. So the two of them hike back to Jackson, but Ellie is suspicious of Joel. She asks him to swear he's telling the truth, and he confirms it with the same conviction I have when the IRS asks if I filed my taxes correctly.
I swear.
And with that, the screen cuts to black. We're all caught up and ready for season 2. Is it good? Basically. It can't hold a candle to Chernobyl, but it's good. I do appreciate its more simplistic approach of following this duo across the country. So many other properties have gone too big and expansive, while just simple stories with characters you care about are often forgotten. And it was called the best video game adaptation of all time, which was 100% true until that superior video game adaptation came out. The one that knocked The Last of Us off its pedestal and reminded us that video games aren't just entertainment, they are in fact art. You know what I'm talking about. The Minecraft movie.